Hi everybody, I just wanted to make this midweek discussion board video for you guys just to respond to some of the things that you're writing about in your discussion board for this week. I really like what everybody's saying, and I just want to kind of give a little thumbs up to those of you who have already participated. So Nicole, Meredith, Guadalupe, and Jeannie, you guys are doing a great job. I really appreciate your early participation in this assignment. I think you are my rock stars, so keep it up. You guys are doing a great job. I just want to go into a couple of these threads and talk a little bit about, for those of you who haven't started yet, talk a little bit about kind of like how you can add to the conversation. Some of your classmates have posed some really excellent questions that I think you can help answer. In this thread, how can understanding audience purpose and tone benefit you outside of the academic world? We really see a lot of legitimate examples of how we use purpose and how we use audience and how we use tone. And I think so far what's been really nice is that your classmates have set you up with some really general ideas here of tone, and how sometimes we have to think about the tone that we use when talking to other people because we don't want to offend them, or maybe we have a specific tone that can be construed as being, having an attitude, like Jeannie said, or maybe just, how we present ourselves. We have these general ideas here within the discussion board, but if you haven't participated yet, maybe in this thread, you might want to give some specifics. Like, are there any specific examples that you can think of where you were analyzing your audience, like maybe someone you met for the first time, and thinking about a specific, someone brought up the point of audience you analyze when you're in an interview, and who are you interviewing with, and how do you want to represent yourself? Does anyone have any examples of that? And then, do you have examples of tone, like where tone has affected your communication with another person? Is there something specific that you can think of? Let's see. I think that's kind of everything that I was thinking of, where if you hadn't participated yet, you could add to the discussion there. Now, in what makes writing effective, it's really interesting how the four of you have started off this discussion, because in my previous classes, when I've asked this question, a lot of people have said something like, effective writing is writing that keeps me engaged and keeps me interested. And I think that you guys are saying that, but you're saying it in a better way, because what's really curious is that what I might find interesting, someone else is not going to find interesting. And so effective writing isn't just what's interesting. I mean, of course it is what's interesting, but how does something become interesting? So what about writing makes writing interesting, I guess? Does that make sense? And so I kind of had a question there. When Guadalupe asked, what are some ways to keep your readers interested in what they are reading? Well, what do you guys think? I mean, I have a question here. Well, what if we had the most boring topic possible? What would it take for you all to want to read about something that you previously thought was boring? So like for me, I wouldn't be particularly interested in maybe a textbook on gardening, but what if the textbook had pictures? What if there were funny stories about gardening failures? That might make it a little bit more interesting for me. And so how do we categorize these elements of writing that are interesting? And a place for those of you who haven't added to the discussion yet might be to come up with some examples on your own. Are there specific subjects you find boring? What would someone have to do to make those subjects interesting for you, to make you want to read them? And I think that can kind of help answer this question of what makes writing effective. I also thought if anybody, Guadalupe brought up this concept of passive versus active voice. Does anybody know the difference between that? And if you do, maybe you could add to the discussion there, because that's something that a lot of 111 classes should talk about, and we should definitely talk about it here as well. So going back into the discussion board, into the section on what does it mean to analyze, those of you who participated in this really have a great understanding of analysis, I think. And again, we have this general concept of analysis, and if anyone has some specifics to add, let's go there. I did pose one question on analysis. Nope, maybe I didn't. Nicole posed some really interesting questions. Nicole asks, do you have any pointers on analyzing or breaking down a topic? Does analyzing the topic you're going to be writing about only help with the construction of the essay, or will it also make writing easier? And then she's asking about ideas. So if anyone has some answers to Nicole's questions, you could add to the discussion there as well. And then we get to this topic of having an open mind and how maybe having an open mind relates to writing in some ways, and I think it certainly is tied to it. Let's go into the next section, because I know there was something else where I thought you guys could add to the discussion here. Evaluate. So what does it mean to evaluate? My biggest comment within this section is just about the question of judgment. Is judgment, which is often a negatively construed word, we think of judgment as like he's passing judgment on me, something that is bad, something we don't want to be judged. But are there instances where judgment is a good thing? And so that's my question right here, in replying to Jeannie, and she talks about judging. So does anyone have any examples where judgment might be a good thing? If you haven't participated in the discussion board yet, you might want to talk about that. Okay, so I think that covers everything. I did skip the extra credit questions because I think that you can just go in, and I've already answered both Nicole and I think Guadalupe. Yeah, both Nicole and Guadalupe's questions have already been answered. So if those of you who are interested in a little bit of extra credit want some, you can post a question about the first essay and get some extra credit. Side note, this used to say second essay because I had a little typo here, so I did go back and change that if anyone's confused. It now says first essay. It's the essay that we're talking about now. That kind of covers everything I wanted to talk about for the discussion board so far. There's only 4 of you who have participated. Thank you so much, by the way. But from the other 18 or so students, I'm expecting the discussion board will go kind of like it did last week, where the majority of posts came in on Sunday. I probably won't respond to those posts as specifically as I am in the middle of the week, just because I want to get those things graded. But I appreciate that you are at least doing them. So please don't forget, don't wait until the last minute if you can help it. I am in the middle of working on putting together a rubric from week 2's discussion and grading those discussion board posts. I haven't started grading yet. I've just been working on that rubric. And hopefully I will have the rubric out to you guys Sunday along with your grades. So be on the lookout for that. I know it's taking me a little bit longer than I had hoped, but I just want to get this rubric perfect and take into consideration everything that you guys have said to me. So I'm going to end this video here so that it's not super long. Keep working. You guys are doing an awesome job, and I will reach out to you soon.